Most guys spend hours watching social skill tutorials, practicing their walk, and trying to master the perfect eye contact. But all of that is completely useless if you continue to do things that kill your charisma without you realizing it. You can't fill up a glass if it has giant holes in the bottom. All your effort just leaks out. Real charisma is simply the ability to make others feel seen, relaxed, and secure in your presence. If your daily habits are making people feel more tense or judged, you are leaking status. In this video, I'm revealing the 7 biggest leaks you need to fix if you want to be genuinely magnetic. I spent years learning all the social skill hacks, wondering why I still felt invisible in rooms full of people. At some point, I realized I wasn't failing because I lacked new skills. I was failing because I was making quiet mistakes that were draining my respect before I even finished a sentence. Once I plugged these leaks, everything shifted. Let's start with the one tactic that everyone tells you to use, but which actually makes you look weak because you do it wrong. Charisma leak 1: negative mirroring. If you've ever read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, you've heard of mirroring, the idea that copying someone's posture builds instant chemistry. But for most guys, this is actually a status killer that makes them look reactive and weak. The leak happens when you start negative mirroring. This is the habit of reflecting someone else's nervous energy, awkwardness, or low status emotions back at them. Imagine you're on a first date. She's nervous, so she's fidgeting with her glass and speaking in a quiet, hesitant voice. Most experts tell you to match her energy to make her feel comfortable. That is a disaster. If you start fidgeting too and lower your voice to match her hesitation, you aren't building a bond, you're just doubling the awkwardness. You're telling her, I'm just as uncomfortable as you are. By mirroring her stress, you failed the mission of charisma, which is to make others feel relaxed. In situations like these, you need to be an anchor instead of a mirror. If she's talking faster than a sports car because she's stressed, you keep your voice calm and deliberate. If she's closed off, you stay open and relaxed. When you refuse to mirror negative energy, you subconsciously give them permission to relax. You aren't reacting to them, they are adjusting to you. People don't want to be around someone who reflects their own stress. They want to be around the man who remains unshakable even in high-stakes moments. Charisma leak number 2, the actually guy. There is one specific habit that will make people want to stop talking to you in less than 60 seconds. You think you're being smart or accurate, but in reality, you just look like an annoying narcissist who can't let a conversation flow. It's the habit of being the actually guy. Imagine a friend is telling a great story about a trip they took 3 years ago. They're at the peak of the story, the energy is high, and suddenly you interrupt with, "Actually, it was 4 years ago, right? I'm pretty sure it was 2022. The detail is completely irrelevant. It doesn't change the point of the story at all, but by correcting it, you've just killed their momentum. You've shifted the focus from their experience to your correctness. The same thing happens when you correct someone's grammar in a casual text or point out a minor mispronunciation. Charisma is about making others feel relaxed and seen. When you correct someone on a tiny, irrelevant detail, you do the opposite. You make them feel judged and self-conscious. It signals that you care more about looking smart than you do about the person in front of you. Unless you are in a formal debate or the error actually puts someone in danger, let it go. If you catch a mistake that doesn't change the heart of the story, stay silent. Your silence isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a sign of high social intelligence. Save your corrections for when the stakes are high, otherwise you'll be the guy nobody wants to invite to a party. Charisma leak number 3, the umbrella. I want you to listen to 2 different ways of saying the exact same thing. Option A. So I was thinking that, maybe we could go to that new place on Friday? Option B. I was thinking we should check out that new place on Friday. Do you feel the difference? Option A sounds like a guy asking for permission to exist. Option B sounds like a man with a plan. Most guys lack charisma because they are constantly hiding under what I call the umbrella. We've all been there. You're asked a question and you don't have the answer ready immediately. Instead of just taking a second to think, you start leaking noise. Well, I think that, you're filling the gaps with vocal trash because you're terrified that if you stay silent for even 1 second, you'll lose the room or look stupid. Charisma is built on stability. When you use filler words to bridge every single gap in your thoughts, you look like you're rushing. It signals that you don't believe your words are important enough for people to wait for. That's exactly why you need to kill the fillers and embrace the pause. When you need a second to think, just stop talking. A deliberate 2-second pause doesn't make you look slow, it makes you look grounded. It shows you aren't afraid of the silence and that you expect people to wait for your input. Most guys are terrified of a quiet room. The charismatic man owns it. When you fold the umbrella and let the silence breathe, you fix another leak of your charisma. But in order to be truly charismatic, you need to fix this next leak too, and oh boy, it's a big one. Charisma leak number 4, the fake question. What are the 3 most useless words to say nowadays? How are you? You might think that's rude, but don't judge too quickly. There's a reason this phrase is a charisma leak that makes you look insincere and robotic. It's what I call the fake question. Think about how most of your interactions start. You walk into the office or show up to a date and say, "Hey, how are you?" while already looking past them or checking your phone. You've turned a potential connection into a mindless script. We've all felt this. It feels like the other person is just checking a box rather than actually seeing you. Charisma is the art of being fully present in a world that is constantly distracted. When you ask without waiting, you're telling them they are invisible. It's a low-value habit that makes you feel fake to anyone with high social intuition. If you're going to ask those 3 words, give them weight. Commit to the answer. Ask the question, stop moving, and look them in the eyes for the 3 seconds it takes them to respond. Now, you might think, great, so I wait 3 seconds just to get a robotic, "I'm good, and you." But that is exactly your moment to shine. Interrupt their pattern and wake them up. Wait, is that the real answer, or is your autopilot just running today? Nah, skip the polite version. How's your week actually going? I don't believe you. You've got way too much energy for just a good. What happened? People will notice that when you speak, you are actually there for them. In a world of people on autopilot, that presence makes you incredibly magnetic. Speaking of making people feel invisible, let's talk about a phrase that most people use as a personality trait, but it's actually a sign of massive disrespect. You've heard it 1,000 times. Sorry, I'm just really bad with names. Charisma leak number 5, the name forgetter. We've all been there. You meet someone, they tell you their name, and 5 seconds later, it's gone. But instead of admitting you weren't focused, you use the bad with names excuse. The moment you say, "I'm bad with names," you're telling that person that you didn't care enough to listen. To you, it's a funny excuse. To them, it's a signal that they aren't important enough to remember. A person's name is the most important word in their vocabulary. When you forget it, you're killing your charisma because you're showing a lack of social discipline. Charismatic men don't have better memories, they just have more intent. They understand that remembering a name is the bare minimum for making someone feel seen. Instead of using the excuse, use a repetition trick. The second they say their name, use it in your next sentence. "Nice to meet you, Mark." Then, at the end of the conversation, use it again paired with a compliment. "Thanks for introducing yourself, Mark. I love those shoes, by the way." And in case you do forget their name, be honest about it. "Can you remind me of your name again? I was processing what you just said, and I want to make sure I'm addressing you correctly." It frames the mistake as a result of your focus on them, not a lack of interest. Alright, you've fixed your eye contact, you've stopped correcting people, and you've cut out the filler words. But there is one habit that will make people stop trying to talk to you entirely because you're making them do all the heavy lifting. Charisma leak 6, the one-worder. If you want to kill your natural charisma in record time, then keep giving one-word answers. You think you're being mysterious or stoic, but in reality, you just look like you have the social skills of a 5-year-old. You're forcing the other person to carry the entire weight of the interaction, and eventually, they're just going to drop it. We've all been in this interrogation. "How was your weekend?" "Good." "Do anything fun?" "Not really." "Excited for the project?" "Yeah." It's exhausting. The other person has to keep digging just to get a spark of life out of you. Within 2 minutes, they'll find someone else to talk to who actually gives them something to work with. Charisma is an energy exchange. When you give one-word answers, you become a social black hole. You're sucking up their effort but giving nothing back. It makes you look uninterested, arrogant, or just plain boring. In order to avoid this charisma killer, use the statement plus one rule. Never give a one-word answer. Give the fact, then add one hook they can grab onto. Instead of "good," try, "It was actually really relaxing. I finally finished that book I've been meaning to read." Now they have a hook. They can ask about the book, the genre, or your reading habits. Being more generous with your words makes you incredibly magnetic. When you provide hooks, the conversation becomes effortless and people will subconsciously associate that ease with you. You've fixed how you look, how you speak, and how you listen. But this final leak is the most dangerous one because it doesn't just make you look boring, it makes you look like an energy vampire. Charisma leak number 7, the passionate pessimist. Nothing kills your charisma faster than being the guy who shoots down everyone else's excitement. You think you're being realistic, but to everyone else, you're just the guy pouring cold water on every fire in the room. Imagine a friend or a date shares a crazy idea, starting a business, traveling the world, or learning a new skill. They're beaming with energy. Before they even finish, you jump in. Yeah, but isn't that market saturated? Or do you actually have time for that? You think you're helping them avoid a mistake. In reality, you're just making them regret opening up to you. Charisma is about uplifting energy. When you act as the reality police, you become an obstacle to people's happiness. They eventually start hiding their wins and dreams from you because they know you just drain the life out of them. Next time someone shares a vision, be their biggest fan for 60 seconds. Even if the idea is wild, lean in. That's insane. If that actually worked out, what's the first thing you'd do? You can be realistic later if they ask for advice, but in the moment of sharing, your only job is to fuel the flame. Most people are scared of big ideas, so they try to pull others down to their level. The charismatic man is open to big goals because he has them himself. When you make people feel like their dreams are possible, you become the person they never want to leave. Congratulations, you've officially plugged the 7 biggest leaks in your social game. Your glass is finally holding water. Now, it's time to actually fill it up. Plugging these leaks was the defense. It stops you from losing respect. But if you're ready to play offense and learn how to actively build a presence that commands every room you walk into, you need to watch this video next. I break down the exact framework for building instant high-status charisma from scratch. See you over there.